Hello everyone, and welcome to World of Darkness news show. Today, in a very busy day, we're going to talk about updates from Bloodhunt, Swansong, as well as the brand new release happening just today. If you're watching us on YouTube, it already happened. Sins of the Sires is releasing the fourth game of Choice of Games interactive novels after a very well acclaimed Night Road, Parliament of Knights, and Out for Blood. We are going to have a fourth game and fourth interactive novel in the series. And I'm super excited to talk about it more today with the author. Natalia Theodoridou is going to join me today to talk more about Sins of the Sires. So without further ado, let's check out if Natalia is waiting for us. Hello, Natalia. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello. Hi, everyone.
Perfect. And we can see you right now. Amazing. Just to start very briefly, for those people who haven't seen you here on the previous interview, can you introduce yourself very quickly to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I'm Natalia Theodoridou. I am a fiction writer and game writer. I am from Greece. I live in the UK. I have won a World Fantasy Award. Yeah, and my whole life is writing, basically.
Amazing. And now you have written Vampire the Masquerade Sins of the Sires, which is releasing today. How do you feel?
Yay. I'm very excited and only a little bit terrified. Um, it's always so strange with these games. That's my first Vampire the Masquerade game, but it's my third Choice of Games project. And you work on these things for so long, you live with them, you think about them, you breathe them for 1 year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, and then this day comes and you have to let them go and send them out into the world and see what they can do for other people, and it's pretty daunting.
Yes.
But I mean, it's also a privilege. You get people who are excited to invest their time in this thing that came out of your head and your heart and your veins, and it's great. It's great.
That's amazing. And some people were able to actually see some of the Sins of the Sires already because we had demo available. Also, there was Steam Next Fest stream with Hadi, and there were some playtesting sessions going on around. So I am very much wondering, how does the feedback you received so far about Sins of the Sires changed your perspective on the game, the novel, the writing? Did anything change in the writing in itself?
Oh yeah, for sure. The game wouldn't be what it is without the beta testers. Absolutely. I mean, anything that's wrong with it, it's my fault. But I was really lucky to have lots of people who went through the game again and again and again and provided really honest reactions, and they really got the game, and their feedback helped me make it more of what it was meant to be, rather than it being in a completely different game that I didn't want to write. So because of feedback, the character relationships are better, the arcs are fuller and more compelling, the stats are better balanced. It was really great. And of course, people always make connections in the game that I didn't see coming, and they find things that I didn't put there intentionally, or I didn't know were there. They fixate on things that I thought were unimportant, and that shows me my own blind spots. And people are usually, most of the time, they're right. And this is very surprising, but it's also for me part of the joy of interactive fiction, because the work you're reading doesn't exist on its own. In a sense, it only
Yeah.
exists between the text and the player, and that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, for sure. And when I was talking to Jason from Choice of Games about Sins of the Sires, he told me that he believes that this out of all of the Vampire the Masquerade Choice of Games titles we had so far, it had the most strongest story approach. And the way it weaves the story is a little bit different from, for example, Night Road. It has a very, very strong story element. And I was wondering, how did you approach it in writing in order to write a story but also make it interactive?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this was probably the most complicated game I've written in terms of storyline, because depending on who your sire is, of course, their agendas are different, but also it positions the player in a different way within the narrative. So basically, it's a different storyline with completely different stakes each time. So that did get a bit maddening to write around chapter 7 and 8, but I think it was worth it. And because of the themes I was working with, I wanted it to feel like you're playing through a Greek tragedy. So the challenge for me was to give the players some agency and allow them to, within the tragedy, win at least some of the time. Um, and I mean, you win some, you lose some. You're a damned creature of the night. You don't expect a fully happy ending. Not from me, at least. I'm not that kind of writer.
That's so cool that not only the game is set in Greece, but also it's written
Mm-hmm.
like a Greek tragedy. A tragedy. I love the approach. And we also got
Mm-hmm.
some more information about the game since the last time you joined us here, specifically about some characters which are in the game with
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, beautiful art. So, with that in mind, I want to ask you some questions about the revealed characters, starting
Sure.
with the prince. Could you tell us a little bit more about the Prince of Athens and how was it exactly to write a character that was already established in the lore of World of Darkness?
So the only things we knew about Prince Pisistratos before the game was that he has been Prince of Athens since the Victorian age,
Yes.
and that he's a misogynist, but that he's pretty tolerant in other respects. And so it was really fun to get to fill in that character, both in terms of background, but also his inner life. That's I want all my characters to have rich inner lives, and even if that means giving a rampant misogynist some redeeming qualities sometimes. Because when I write, I try my guiding principle is that when something is well written, everyone is in the right. There are no people who are just villains if you get to know them well enough.
Yes.
So, of course, Pisistratos is a megalomaniac. He clings to power way past his prime, and he nurtures his very special delusions. But I mean, that's people who doesn't, right?
Of course. So, how it is to have a Malkavian as a prince? Because a lot of people are wondering. For a lot of our fans, people believe that Ventrue are majorly equipped to be princes, but that's not entirely true. We have princes of clans, of all the clans possible. So,
Mhm.
Malkavian, what kind of a prince he is?
He's a really special guy. I really can't wait for people to get to know him, even though he has that villainous aura around him. His clan is giving him very um, special insights into his own background and who he is, who he thinks he is. Um, I'm eager to see what people make of him.
Hmm, interesting. And then the second reveal was of a character called Sophia or Sophia. Not sure how to pronounce her name. You will tell me in a second. But she was once a heiress in her mortal life, and she was embraced pretty early in the 1729, I believe, right? And
Mhm.
her embrace basically severed her chances to be the heiress. Does she still keep that grudge? And how heavy a grudge can be if it goes for centuries?
Well, it's Sophia. Her background is a bit complicated. She actually helped Pisistratos gain power in Athens, and then she was shunned by him. So, and Pisistratos might claim that it's because of her being a woman, but I think there are other reasons as well. She's leadership material, and that means she would pose a threat to Pisistratos' own rule enough. And so you see, misogyny is not, it's never just misogyny. There's a whole other host of a network of things behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, she's definitely holding a grudge over that, and has been for a long time. Because she definitely deserved better, but she's not a victim. She's methodical. She's been building her network of support. She's biding her time. And I think her time is coming.
Okay. I feel the balance of powers here being, probably being shaken a bit throughout the novel. But
Mhm.
speaking of the balance of powers, we have this misogynistic prince, but then we have Dio, who openly opposes that. Who exactly is Dio?
So they are actually one of the oldest characters in the game alongside Vol, and they have been around forever pretty much, witnessing and observing and not really participating except when things really matter to them, and it's really hard to know when something matters to Dio. Um, they definitely care about art. They care about good narratives. They're Toreador and the Primogen, and they mostly tolerate Pisistratos on account of their child, who is Amphitryon, who is Pisistratos' seneschal, as well as his beloved. And Dio is kind of a quiet power in the city. They're kind of a counterpoint to Pisistratos' and to some extent Sophia's extravagance as well.
I see. And then we have our personal undead family, the unfamily, and that is our
Mhm.
adoptive sire and also our adoptive sister in crime. It's very difficult to have
Mhm.
to call other child of the kind of same sire sisters or brothers, but we have Marcos and Persa, who are these kind of an
Mhm.
undead family for us. What is the dynamic in this family, and how bad is it?
So first, to give you some background, Marcos is Tremere. He's from Vienna,
Mhm.
but he obscures. He likes to obscure his background. Not many people can piece together who he really is, what his background is, what his personal history is. He even changed his name from Steiner to Petru when he came to Greece in order to fit in. And Persa is his child. She's been with him and very loyal to him since her embrace, and she has been the main tool that Marcos has been using in his business, which is basically he's a facilitator, he's a problem solver, he is a middleman, he provides connections, networking, does the things other people would shy away from. And he likes to collect favors and artifacts, and I think he sees those things as kind of similar. They're good to have and to use when the time is right. So when you came into the picture, the player adopted by Marcos, Persa didn't like that at all because suddenly she was not in the spotlight and she didn't really understand why it was that Marcos favored you so much. So things can get pretty tense with Persa. She can put on a tough face and be a little bratty towards the player. Um, but I think she's just overcompensating for some deeply hidden soft bits that she hasn't doesn't like to admit that she has.
This is a very interesting dynamic because we rarely hear about dynamics in the official products in between different childer or even adoptive childer of the same sire. So I can't wait to explore this one. And now about one of my, I think, the characters which excited me the most from the description alone, and that is the character of Vol. An extremely interesting concept because he succumbed to the beckoning and came back. Can you tell us a little bit more about him?
Yeah, Vol is also one of my favorites. He's Nosferatu, definitely the oldest character in the game. He's a bit of a recluse. He doesn't go out much, kind of like myself. He drinks mostly packaged blood that Marcus procures for him. And he was also a kind of melancholy sort. But then he went through this experience, the beckoning. He left someone behind as well when he went. And then he came back and he was profoundly changed by that experience in ways that we don't get to fully see, but we do get to glimpse. And that was the beckoning is such a mysterious thing. It was really compelling for me to see how it might affect the person to be called and to be unable to control or resist that call, and then to be removed from your context, and then to come out the other end of that experience and go back to your old context. But there is this sense of displacement, that feeling that you don't belong anywhere. And I'm hoping that this is a sentiment that some people might identify with.
I love this. And the concept of beckoning is super interesting, and I cannot wait to get more glimpses into it throughout Vampire the Masquerade lore. But now that people will be able to play your game on Steam, iOS, and Android, can you please let us know what are your last recommendations to people who approach it for the very first time?
Right. Try different backgrounds for your characters. Try different combinations of disciplines. And play multiple times. I think that's the best way to experience the novel fully. Even though its playthrough is complete in itself, I like to think that each of them kind of resonates with all the other possible playthroughs that you can do, that there's a kind of haunting that happens. So what I would say is for people to allow themselves to become just a little bit haunted every time they play. And I do hope they enjoy the game.
That's amazing. And where people can leave the feedback for you? Do you want to get feedback through your personal social media, or maybe Steam, or maybe Choice of Games? What's the best way for people to reach out to you after they play the game?
Anything really. Feel free to reach out to me on my Twitter, which is at Natalia_Theodore, or through the Choice of Games forum, or directly through the Steam app. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Natalia, for joining us today. It was super fun to have you, and I cannot wait to play the game with you.
I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Sins of Desires releases today on Steam, iOS, and Android. You will be able to get it just like all the Choice of Games titles from Vampire the Masquerade from these free stores, and also from Choice of Games store if you want to have a web version, because that's also available. And yeah, I recommend you to check it out. We have Night Road, which is very much mechanic heavy, tons of clans to choose, tons of things that you can do, very much craft your own experience, kind of an introductory story to Vampire the Masquerade. Then we have Out for Blood, where you play as a hunter, as a human, actually a very amateur hunter, not the full hunter in the Hundred Reckoning sense, but you are in a town where vampires came and you gotta do something with it. Then we have Parliament of Knives, which is very much of a political, Camarilla-driven narrative story, and Sins of Desires, which I think is going to be different from all of these. So I very much recommend you to check it out. Let us know what you think after you play it. And yeah, we're going to go to the next news right now. And we are going to talk about Saturnalia, which is the official upcoming LARP brought to you by By Night Studios in New Orleans this November. I cannot wait to be there because I'm going to be personally there role-playing with people. If you want to come and roleplay with me, with Johanna Peterson, and with more amazing people, do check out vampirelarp.com. Very simple URL, very simple address in order to go check out the plan for the event, what is going to happen there, who is going to be there, and how you can get your tickets. The tickets are on sale right now, so if you want to come in person to New Orleans and roleplay Vampire the Masquerade, Saturnalia is the place to go. And now about the upcoming 3D RPG narrative game from Big Bad Wolf. Vampire the Masquerade Swansong is going to showcase yet another gameplay video today on Future Game Show at 11 p.m. Central European Time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Pacific Time. If you want to join the stream, you will be able to see an additional gameplay which is completely new and build up from what you've seen last week. And if you haven't seen the video from last week, well, I do have something to show you, especially for those of you who are here, for example, waiting for Bloodhunt playtest happening tomorrow, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. This game is your closest upcoming single-player Vampire the Masquerade experience, and we really can't wait to show it to you. So, without further ado, let's check out the gameplay which was shown last week.
We are on the verge of ruin. As Prince of Boston, I have gathered you all here to deal with an unprecedented threat. An attack against me and against the Boston Camarilla. Who? Why? How? We know nothing of our enemies, but one thing is certain. There will be consequences. There are not many who I can count on in this court. Infiltrate, investigate, negotiate for me. I want answers. When the time comes, I will remember those who have proven themselves to me. Don't let me down. Caleb, you are the oldest among us. You have proven your ability to solve problems time and time again, whether by deception or by force. I know you will choose the best approach. Get in among the mortals, erase all our tracks, and eliminate anyone who dares threaten us. Leisha, you are the most discreet and clear-sighted. Go to where the attack happened and search for survivors and answers. You can go unnoticed, blend in with the mortals, and hide evidence of our existence. Halsey will be with you. I have faith in you. Thanks to your popularity, you have spent time with many kindred, whether they belong to the nobility or a more unassuming lineage. Everyone knows your face. Everything is accessible to you. Your reputation and talent for diplomacy will serve you well in your mission. Track down the traitors in our ranks and reveal their secrets. Their masks must be ripped off. Use your strength strategically in each situation you face. Don't forget that our enemies will try to hide the truth from you and use the power of the blood against you. Use your experience and unique skills. It's in such times of crisis that everyone's traits and talents come to the fore. If you need to feed, do it according to the traditions. Thou shalt not reveal thy true nature to those not of the blood. No matter the circumstances, the Masquerade must never be breached. I leave the choice of your methods up to you, but be careful. Don't let your beast obscure your judgment. Mortals may be weak, but they are many, and our allies are few. Your choices will affect the fate of the Boston Camarilla. Act accordingly. We cannot afford mistakes. Make the right choices. Show them our power. And don't forget, they are the prey, and we are the predators.
I hope you liked this little gameplay tidbit from Vampire the Masquerade Swansong. More to come just tonight on the Future Game Show. So tune in to twitch.tv/GamesRadar after 11 p.m. Central European Time if you want to catch it live. And we will be, of course, posting it all around the place tomorrow. And now on to Bloodhunt, which I absolutely cannot wait to play tomorrow. We're going to have a special stream in the studio here from Paradox Interactive, playing with my fellow mates from the live content team, and we're going to do trios, so I really hope that we're going to meet some of you in the game. The playtest starts tomorrow. If you already have the code for the game in your Steam library because you've played the playtest before, maybe you were in the alpha, basically any reason that makes you have Bloodhunt on your Steam library list already makes you eligible, that's the name, eligible to play tomorrow. So you'll be able to play. And if you don't have the code yet, there are still some codes left for those of you who want to get them through Discord on discord.gg/Bloodhunt. Please correct me, chat, if you're seeing this. Is it Bloodhunt or Bloodhunt game? Well, anyway, on Bloodhunt Discord, you are still able to get some codes. So if you don't have your code, please do try your luck. And I hope to see you tomorrow there. We did get some more updates about what this playtest is going to change, what are going to be the differences. And one thing that was actually requested by a lot of players originally was some alterations, some additions to the tutorial. Majorly because the tutorial was available only once at the beginning of the game. Once you jumped into Bloodhunt, you were able to play the tutorial once. Now it's going to be available anytime. You will be able to jump into the tutorial at any point to remind yourself of the basic mechanics. So if you forgot anything, just feel free to go back, play it again, and check out how to play, basically. But additionally, the tutorial is altered a bit. It is more similar to the regular game. As you remember, the original tutorial was very much just showing you some particular abilities, how to jump from roof to roof, how to shoot, how to loot, how to use the shield. This one is more actually similar to the actual gameplay. So we'll be able to see how it works in practice during this playtest this weekend. It is already implemented there, so yeah, I can't wait to sink my fangs into it and check out how it looks like. Additionally, one of the very requested features by the fanbase was the controller support, or bigger controller support. And it's also going to be tested this weekend. With the added aim assist, it's going to be easier to play on a gamepad controller. If you are a gamepad player, you will be able to test it out this weekend, and I'm sure Bloodhunt developers will be very happy to hear your feedback. There is something more that they announced, but I think we're going to get to it a little bit later. Bloodhunt community stream happens at 6 p.m. Central European today, so just in less than half an hour we're going to rate the stream. We're going to go with the longer Q&A today in order to get specifically to this stream. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, you are able to watch it on Bloodhunt Twitch in the VOD form right now, so you will be able to check it out at any time. If you're live with us here, we're going to rate the chat together. How does rating work? Basically, we're going to send you automatically, so you don't actually have to do anything. Just sit and enjoy in the chat, and we will be joining the stream later. Every single community update so far, developers were sharing some more updates and things which they haven't said before or announced before. So I am always looking forward to these streams very, very much, because they always showcase something more that we haven't heard about publicly just yet. So I am very much excited for this one. Also super cool people. They're always super great atmosphere. So I recommend to check it out. We're going to jump there after the stream. And I think there was something more that dropped just today, right? Oh yeah, of course, the Ventrue. It seems that the Ventrue Enforcer joins the closed playtest. And this news actually dropped very, very near to this stream. So I was just preparing for the stream and I saw that the news dropped. So I'm actually going to read this article with you and check out what is happening. Let's check it out. We can no longer hope for Prince Marcus's arrival. The evidence is all too clear. He perished in St. Gil's Church. We are still looking into the details of the attack, but I am suspecting there is something bigger at hand than a coincidence. In the absence of another leader, Kirill has taken it upon himself to protect his city. This is far from a popular decision, but I cannot see another viable option. Hopefully, this relentless strength is what we need to re-inspire the troops. In his efforts to take back the city, Kirill has mentioned that he's looking for warriors to add to his ranks. I have seen a few promising kindred in the Elysium and will encourage them to take his side. We have also managed to gain access to the library. Ooh. Omnis should especially appreciate this, as it gives him and another Nosferatu of Prague possibilities to salvage more data after the entity raid. This seems to me like maybe some more part of the Elysium is going to open, but I'm just saying it. I don't know, possibly. Speaking of Omnis, he is beginning to set up his clan space rather nicely. Okay. Him and Kirill now having their rooms quite close to one another does not seem to please either party, but two kindreds bickering about disturbing noises is low on my list of priorities. Do you remember when we were playing Bloodhunt beforehand and Kirill was standing in front of a wall with a big axe in there? I think Kirill was planning something, so I'm just leaving it out there. Maybe we are going to see some changes to the decor of the location. As for Maya, she really does work to make this Elysium a home. Kirill doesn't seem happy with her changes, but I support her reconstructions, as I believe it is beneficial for all of us to have a place for socializing. Absolutely. Have you seen people role-playing in Elysium? Because I did. I actually seen people who are just waiting for the game in Elysium and they are using this time to roleplay their characters and to talk with others. It's amazing, every single time. Furthermore, a few members of the Ventrue clan have finally joined us. Yes! One of them has placed himself in front of the door to what used to be Marcus's office, restricting the area from anyone but myself. Not that I move around the Elysium a lot, but it is nice to know that I am not being kept out from this area as well. Oh, there are movies! Okay, we gotta check them out. Let's check it out. Enforcer Dash. I think we have a lower quality. I need to make it way higher. There we go. This is perfect. Check it out. Okay, Enforcer Dash. So that's the traversal ability. I see. That's really cool. So that's the traversal ability. It seems that it's a push, which is a little bit different from the clans that we've seen so far. It's not the invisible teleport, it's not the blink that Theodoridou have, and not the very big jump that Brujah has. It's actually something a little bit more in a straight line and with a punch that pushes you forward. I wonder if it pushes other players away. Let me just check it out very quickly again. What if you aim? Oh, I see. You push them away. I think you push them away, right? That's interesting. Anyway, Marble. Oh, of course, Fortitude. Look at this. The effect is so good on the material. Looks so nice. All right. So that, of course, the Marble ability is the Fortitude, which makes you more sturdy. But there must be something third, right? Let me just quickly read up what we have in here. The Enforcers, proud and obstinate as they may be, are well-needed additions to our cause. Perhaps this is what will turn our luck. One of our new soldiers told me a story about an Enforcer on the battlefield. This Enforcer had rushed forward, positioning themselves in between an Anarch Brujah and one of our own Theodoridou. Thankfully, they had immediately interrupted the Anarch in his attempt to unleash a devastating blow to our ally. So the traversal ability also blocks disciplines, I think. The Enforcer then turned to their own skin to Marble, making them temporarily invulnerable. They then proceeded to fill the now helpless enemy with bullets and turning him to ash. Hopefully these magnificent powers instill as much fear in our enemies as it does hope in our kind. We can only hope that more members from this esteemed clan decide to join us in the struggle to end the war and restore the Masquerade. This is really interesting. Why only one archetype? Great question for Sharkman today on the stream. I believe they are just testing one of the archetypes right now, and we will see 2 archetypes on the release. That's my guess only, but it's a great question to ask the developers. The passive power slows player movement. I see. I see. This is really cool. All right. I'm sorry if you can see zombie sounds in the background, by the way. There are just, you know, some undead, some Hekata stuff happening in the other room. It's all fine. All right. That's super, super interesting. And I am very much looking forward to play as one of these tomorrow. And in the meantime, let's check out what is happening with the Vamily today very quickly. Unfortunately, we do not have Hadi with us today. Let me just make this a little bit nicer, and let's just say there's going to be a text saying obfuscate. I'm going to make the text more visible so everyone can see that, and this is going to be our little Hadi today. She is with us, she's just obfuscating, okay? Alright, and we're going to go for the Vamily Spotlight and see what our community is up to today with all of their stuff. Let me just move the chat here so I can see everyone talking live. And Roscra in the chat is asking me for the key. Unfortunately, I do not have any keys, I'm so sorry. You gotta ask Bloodhunt on Twitter then. Maybe they will be able to give you one. I can't promise, but please do poke them. That would be a great idea. All right, everyone, let's check out what's happening with the Vamily today. Starting with the Twitter, I actually have some interesting things that I just wanted to address here instead of Twitter, because Twitter has character limit and that's the worst. And here we can talk about them a little bit more. First of all, we have a tweet from Autorkis who is asking, does anyone have any advice on running preludes for V5? 4 out of 5 of my players are new to World of Darkness and would like to run the Embrace for them. I would love to help you out with just giving you a few pinpointers, but again, there's no one right way to do this. No matter how you want to do the Embrace Chronicle or the Session 0 or however you want to set up in your play, just make very sure that you have consent of your players in how you want to do the Embrace in itself. Embrace, of course, is not only a pretty violent act usually, because of course it's non-consensual unless you specifically told the human, hey, I'm going to make you into a vampire, and the human human for some reason said, yes, sure, let's do it. Not only it's bloody, you basically kill a person, but also it is in some way a bit sexual as well. So I really recommend to check out with your players on how you want to play the Embrace in itself, and make sure that you have a consent in how you want to do it. Because Embrace can be a very, very emotional, big and exciting thing in the gameplay. It can be also super, super creepy in a lot of ways. So make sure that this is discussed thoroughly beforehand. When it comes to the general approach on how you can do this, you can definitely do character sheets of the vampire characters before you actually do the Embrace. So I've seen people doing it in various different ways. One way is to interview players in character, maybe, you know, do some online questionnaire kind of a role play, or maybe basically put them in front of the interviewer at the job, and the interviewer is asking them questions like, if you are faced with a difficulty, would you rather sneak around it, or would you rather approach it up front, etc., etc. So with these simple questions, you can help them establish the whole character sheet, including disciplines, which you're going to get later. So that's a pretty interesting way to do it. You can also, of course, just do everything except for the disciplines up until the Embrace, and then they will be able to choose the disciplines, maybe even throughout the play, which could be very interesting. So a lot of ways to do this. I feel like the change from a human to a vampire, if role-played well and if story-told well, is always very, very emotional. So it's a heavy role-play, but it's a super interesting topic to explore. So I recommend to talk to your players on how they imagine this, what is their level of how deep they want to go, and yeah, just make sure that you have the consent of people at the table. And now we are going to go here. If people are asking some questions about other stuff in the chat, we're going to have a QA right after that, so you'll be able to ask all the questions you want to. The second thing here is, this is something that's made me cry today, I admit. I am a very soft-hearted person. But as you probably know, if you don't, this is a really good time to learn about it. We have the official clan quiz. If you go to worldofdarkness.com, you can participate in the clan quiz and find out what clan is yours and which clan of Vampire the Masquerade fits you the best. And this person, the Beacons Dotting the Arcane of Time, actually made their grandma do the tests. So let me just read this thread very quickly. The other night, I was talking to my grandma, and we ended up taking the Vampire the Masquerade clan quiz. She's probably one of the oldest people to both take the quiz and know about Vampire the Masquerade, courtesy of me. And she got ravenous. Some highlights from her taking the quiz. Me. So the question is, are you often surrounded by other people? Her. But there are 84 other people in this retirement home. Me. You know what? I don't think the quiz took that into consideration, so let's go based on whether you want to be around others. Then there's, I hate chaos, I hate it a lot. Okay, so on the scale to 10 would be the absolute most, like you would destroy chaos if you could. Yes, I would. You've made a mistake and drank too much, and the grandma said, no, I had never been drunk in my whole life. Another fun fact, she thought that I was the blonde-haired vampire in the background of one of the questions until I had to convince her I was not. She chose invisibility, talking to animals, and supernatural charm, so the animals would like her and think she's cool. And it was super fun, and she wanted to play her Ravenous character. And I love this. This is so awesome. This is so wholesome. And, you know, if you are ever visiting your grandma or grandpa, if you have a grandma or grandpa, if you want to share your hobby with them, you know, like back in the days when my grandma and my grandpa were alive, they are not anymore, unfortunately. They were super, super into whatever I would just bring to them. Like whatever kind of a topic, something they didn't understand, like role-playing. They would just like listen. They were so interested in listening to what the hell are the new generations doing, right? So I feel like it's such a cool topic to talk to with your grandparents, and something that you might actually you may learn something new about them. Like I would love to do this quiz with my grandpa or grandma. Like now I'm thinking that, hey, I lost an opportunity to do it back in the days. So it's super, super nice, and again, made me cry today. I'm just tearing up. Kudos, because it's super nice of you to do that. You are a great grandchild, and I hope you are going to have more fun time, maybe role-playing together. That would be super cool. And now, another question from Ramblefabs. Can the concept of bread remind me of my humanity? I specifically got that one screenshotted because I feel like I know what this question's context is. I feel like the person was asking about touchstones. So touchstones is a topic which is a little bit misunderstood by a lot of people who are new to vampire. They don't really know what to do about touchstones. So if you don't know what touchstones are, they are, you have to actually, on the character creation of a vampire, you have to pick your convictions, which are the moral rules which your vampire abides by. And for each conviction you pick, you gotta pick one touchstone. And that has to be a mortal human who is basically either close to you, or maybe you look up to that human, or in any sort of way you have a connection to this human, and therefore connection to humanity. I am going to go into the topic of touchstone in the non-bloody guide to vampire, which we have on our YouTube. These are very, very short, nice videos in which we explain all the topics about vampire. But what I often say for people who do not really grasp the concept of touchstones, it's a little bit like living on another planet, being a vampire. When you are on Earth, you are used to this gravity, you are used to the amount of oxygen in the air. And then imagine suddenly you're being completely torn from here and put on another planet, which is livable. Like, let's assume it's a place you can actually live, but the gravity is a little bit heavier, the amount of oxygen is a little bit different. There are some things that are different, and you feel it in your body. Your body adjusts to the new environment, which is completely alien, somehow still livable, but it's different. And imagine after years and years and years spent on that planet, you go back to Earth, and suddenly, let's say you feel super light again because the gravity is lesser, right? So it just feels so weird, and you do not know what to do. You move wobblingly, and that's humanity, basically. So you need to have some anchors, you need to have reminders of how the Earth, how the humanity looked like and felt like, because when you are in this alien world of being a vampire, you're going to lose that very quickly. So you gotta have those touchstones, mortal people, humans that behave human and that are human, in order to keep that humanity going. That's why the anchors are so important. And concept of bread, as much as in itself is a very cool idea to remind you of humanity, cannot be a touchstone, unfortunately, because the concept of bread will, in your head, it will deteriorate over time. When you are an elder vampire, you might start to imagine that the bread was more salty. What the hell was the texture of the bread? You don't even remember how it felt on your tongue, because now it turns to ash when you eat it. So it doesn't seem to be something that you will be able to remember in itself the older you are as a vampire. So that's one of the things that that I would answer to this. So yeah, touchstones, we're going to cover them in a non-body guide, but now let's go check out some more art, which was actually left here by Hari. First of all, we have this super cool Salubri cosplay from Emily Machette. Salubri is a clan of vampires covered in Vampire the Masquerade Companion, and they have a fear dye on the forehead, and this is such a cool way of portraying them. I love this. And then we have Zara, who is portraying a Malkavian Renee in the 1960s, 1970s. He's embracing the hippie look. He actually looks very, very similar to Josh's character in Stitch of Fate. Like, I feel like he looks very similar, but I think the character was called Sean. I think it was Sean. But it's a really cool look, and I love the fashion. Let me know if you have any vampires who are from this other eras, from the previous eras, because the fashion especially is super interesting. Now we have a meme that Hadi left here. I love her for this. From Nobilu. Best 5 bags I've made. De la Croix, who la Croix, la Croix. De la Croix, who la Croix, la Croix. Thank you, Hadi. That made my day. That definitely made my day. I'm just going to move on to Karapakart, walking the streets of this dark society of Ventrue. Actually, it's interesting because it's a Ventrue, but there's a Bruja sign in here. But I think it's a Ventrue trying to walk the path of, oh yeah, Kami trash, of course. So there are anarch signs, anarch graffiti in here, which are probably aimed at this lovely Ventrue. A really cool artwork by Karapakart. Karapaka Arts. I think that's the one. I nailed it. All right, and now very quickly to Storyteller's Vault. This is one of the supplements that I want to highlight this week, and that's something brand new which appeared in Storyteller's Vault just recently. Blood and Country. It's a V5 supplement which is talking about the rural vampires specifically from the lens of an Australian, so from the Australian perspective. This book has 103 pages. It covers rural vampire cultures and practices, considerations of playing within an Australian setting, discussions of the Malabaloon, Aboriginal werewolf hunters, 9 new predator types, 10 new discipline powers, brief suggestions of changes to the clans from the V5 companion guide, 4 new lore sheets, 5 story plot and hooks, 11 Australian wildlife examples, and yeah, this seems to be super interesting for those of you who have never bought anything from STV. Storyteller's Vault is the place where fans create their own Vampire the Masquerade supplements. So this is a fan supplement, and it sounds super interesting. So if you want to set your game in the Australian rural areas, I recommend this one. Also, I've heard from Sean, who is our brand manager, he is from Australia, that rural Australia is actually a really good setting for a Vampire the Masquerade because it's creepy. It's very creepy. So I'm very much looking forward to check out this one. And we also have some really nice LA by Night fan art and fun memes, starting from this portrait of Jasper from the Freak Core. And that's lovely. We all love Jasper in here. We stand Jasper. And we love it. If you haven't watched LA by Night yet, you gotta do it. You absolutely have to. It's free on YouTube, so you can check it out anytime. We have a Black Hermit Cat with with the Jackass meme with Jasper. Hi, I'm Jasper Hartwood, and welcome to Jackass, which is a very good metaphor of the whole plot of the actual play. And then we have Vesper Month Art, who posted the portraits of the characters in LA by Night, and they all look absolutely gorgeous. All right. So that is it for the Vamily Spotlight today. Unfortunately, Harry couldn't join me, but we are going to have her next week. And in the meantime, don't get lost in the night if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on Twitch, we're going to go for the Q&A right now. See you next week for those of you on YouTube. For Twitch, stay with us.